So just how easy is it to fly with Easyjet? Stay tuned in this video and we'll show you. We are David and Claire, and this should have been us heading towards the gate at Gatwick Airport, ready to catch a flight over to the Isle of Man to see our friends. Situated in the middle of the Irish Sea, the Isle of Man is about a 45-minute flight from Gatwick Airport. The idea was that we would get the train from where we live in Bedfordshire straight down on the same line to Gatwick Airport. We'd then grab a plane and head over the Irish Sea to Ronaldsway Airport in the Isle of Man. Simple enough? Apparently not, as we received notification that our flight had been cancelled whilst we were on the train on the way down to Gatwick.
So we thought we'd give you a little bit of context of what happened on our journey down.
So we were going down to Gatwick on the train. It was about 1:30 in the afternoon, and we found out on the news app that Gatwick Airport, the runway was closed because a plane had been stuck on the tarmac. So we were obviously quite worried about our flight. Now, as we were talking, there was a girl sitting just over there on the train, and she said she worked for Easyjet, didn't she?
Yes, she did, yeah.
So I think she worked in operations, so she was responsible for getting parts or something like that. Anyway, she had an app, a Sky Scanner, and she said, let me look up your plane. She says, because I can see where it is and if it's stuck in Gatwick or if there's any issues. Now bear in mind, we weren't due to fly out until 6:20 that evening, so that was over 4 hours away, but I like to get to airports early.
Yeah.
Anyway, she told us that our plane was in Barcelona, or was just landing in Barcelona, so it would have had adequate time to turn round and come back to Gatwick, as long as the runway was open.
So it shouldn't have been affected at all?
No. So we kept an eye on it, and the runway reopened at about 2 o'clock. Now, about 2:15, whilst we're still on the train, we got an email to say that our flight had been cancelled. Now, I suspect that the reason why it was cancelled was because they wanted to use our plane for one of the other flights, because obviously there's a knock-on effect.
Yeah.
So even though it was outside of Easyjet's control that the runway was closed, I still suspect that someone made the decision to cancel our flight over cancelling another flight. So it was still within their control. Anyway, we was on the train, and obviously we was desperately trying to resolve the situation, weren't we?
Yeah.
Signal going in and out. You were trying to look up different routes. You were trying to talk to our friend Debs.
Yeah, and she was trying to find a solution as well. So one of the solutions was to go back and get the van and get the ferry, but it was all just a bit much, wasn't it?
Yeah, and with the signal dropping in and out, we were about 20 miles away from Gatwick, so we had to really wait on the train till we got to the platform at Gatwick, and then we could do something about it. Now, the options that became available to us were to head over to Heathrow, and we could go with another airline, and we could go over from Heathrow that evening. Now, I checked that 3 times, and the 3 times I checked, the price was going up and up and up, to the point where it was almost 700 quid for both of us.
There's so many people in the same boat, so yeah, supply and demand just pushes that price up, which is ridiculous.
So we kind of took that idea out.
Yeah.
Looked on the Easyjet app. Now, the Easyjet app said that we could change our flight free of charge. Now, it didn't offer any options from any other airports. It just told us that the next option was Monday. Now, bearing in mind that we're on Friday, so we don't want to lose like 3 days or 2.5 days of our holiday. We'd have to go back home by train and then come back again. So that wasn't really an option. Other options, like Claire said, included the ferry, but we would have needed to get home, then drive 4.5 hours up north, which by the time the ferry went, we wouldn't have made it up north by this point. The other option is, I'm quite astute when it comes to travel and things like that, and I knew that you could fly from Liverpool to the Isle of Man. So I looked up Liverpool, and I found that they had a flight at, I think it was 8 o'clock the following morning. So I knew that if we got the train to Liverpool, we could then stay overnight and we could get the early flight. Now, the Easyjet app allowed us to do this. It allowed us to change it, which was great. So that was all good, and we started to head off to Liverpool.
And we got the hotel as well, didn't we? Through the
so
EasyJet,
EasyJet,
complications.
And the app was very good actually, because it gave me a list of hotels that you could book, and they paid that outright. They said that they wouldn't pay for our food direct with the hotel, and we would need to claim that back separately. But yeah, the hotel was all sorted. So we had to book a train, we had to pay for the train ourselves, which we could then claim back at a later date. They paid for the hotel and they transferred our flights. So all looked good as we headed up to Liverpool.
The first part of our new journey involved heading back to Victoria Station on the train line, then getting a tube across to Euston Station. We only had a 12-minute stop between trains to find out what platform we were on. We then got on the Avanti West Coast main line, which was one of my favourite trains, a Pendolino. The Avanti West Coast train took us up through the heart of the UK and to Liverpool. It was about a 2.5 hour journey.
So it was on the way to Liverpool, whilst we were on the train, that I was checking my emails to find out the time of the flight the following morning. It became evident I had 2 emails from EasyJet about the change in flight times. Now one of them was for the following day, out to Ronaldsway Airport at the Isle of Man. The other one was talking about our return journey the following week. Now, I hadn't changed anything on the app for the return journey. All I'd done was change the journey out there. So we were hoping to fly back to Gatwick and then get the train home, which is what we were going to do because it's just an hour flight. It'd be very easy and very nice. Now, what it turned out that the app had changed our return flight so that it was a 2-legged flight flying from the Isle of Man to Belfast and then back to Gatwick.
With a 4-hour stopover.
Yeah, with a 4-hour stopover in Belfast. So it was going to take us, I think it was 5.5 or 6 hours to do the journey that would have taken an hour. So we've now got a problem. We're now on a train heading to Liverpool for the flight the following day, which is absolutely fine. I'm not got an issue about that. I'm worried about the return flight because I'm not happy about flying to Belfast and then flying home. So EasyJet's very difficult to get hold of by phone. If you look on the website, it's very hard to find a telephone number, but they do have web chat. So I went on the web chat and I explained our situation to them on the web chat. Now, because of the signal on the train dropping in and out, this whole conversation took nearly 2 hours. But eventually they looked it up, and what they told me was, first of all, they told me that it was definitely my fault and that it was flagging on their system that I changed the flight. Now, I did try explaining why would I change a direct flight of 1 hour to a flight that had a stopover of about 4 hours in the middle. It doesn't make sense. I believe that the app changed the flight because it was trying to recoup some of the loss, because the Liverpool crossing was more expensive on the way out, so it was trying to recoup some of the loss on the way back, essentially. I asked them if there was anyone that I could phone because I was getting frustrated with having the conversation over web chat that kept dropping in and out. They didn't seem to understand my issue. They told me that there was no phone number and it wasn't possible. I then went on their website and I did a lot of Google research and I eventually found a phone number. They then confirmed to me that that phone number is actually genuine and it will get me through to a human. So despite telling me there was no phone number, I found the phone number myself. Now, we waited until we were in Liverpool in the end to find that number. So whilst we were in Liverpool, sitting waiting for a bus that didn't arrive, but that's another story, I phoned the phone number that was on the website to talk to someone. Now, I'm guessing they had a lot of issues that day because every time I went through the press 1, press 2, press 3, press 4, all that malarkey, I ended up getting to a point where it kept hanging up on me. And it didn't matter which route I tried, I pressed 0 for operator, I got cut off every time. So you imagine I'm quite frustrated by this point. We're in Liverpool and we're waiting for a bus to get to the airport. We realise that there's a sign on the bus stop that says, due to roadworks, bus doesn't stop there anymore, does
Oh well,
it?
after 7. It
After
didn't stop
7.
there, and it was literally, our bus was 7:10, so
Yeah.
literally we just missed that because they just stopped running. But it wasn't an obvious sign. I went to check the time, and then saw that there was a sign underneath it saying this. So yeah, you just can't make it up.
So very frustrating. We ended up getting an Uber to the airport because although we weren't flying to the following day, I wanted to get a transfer from the airport to the hotel we were staying at, and I wanted someone who worked for Easyjet to look me in the face, listen to my story, and actually try and help.
After walking across Liverpool's pedestrianised area, we then jumped in an Uber which took us straight to John Lennon Airport, where we found a yellow submarine and also someone from Easyjet that was willing to talk to us.
So we got to the airport and we spoke to a lovely lady there. She must have been like the customer services manager. Now, she was the first person I spoke to from Easyjet who actually understood my predicament, who actually looked at it and said, yeah, your story makes sense. There's no way you would have changed the return journey for an even longer journey. I want to help you. So she went off, she was happy to help us, she was happy to change it. She went off, she typed all the stuff into the system, she tried to help us change it. She came back and she says, I want to change it for you. She says, but my computer won't let me. She says, however, she says, I do have a telephone number for another person within our customer complaints department who may be able to help. By this point, it was about 8 o'clock at night. This telephone line was closed because they only work sort of office hours. Obviously, customers don't have issues in the evening. So anyway, we then thought, right, we better go to the hotel, we better get some rest.
And some food.
And some food, because by the time Claire gets hungry, she gets hangry. It was quite a nightmare by this point. So we headed off to the hotel for some food, to get some sleep, ready to get up early the following morning to return to the airport.
So it's back into an Uber to go to the hotel, which was only round the corner, to get our heads down for a few hours sleep, and then back to the airport early the following morning. Due to a tailwind across the Irish Sea, we encountered our first bit of luck on the journey, and the flight was only 25 minutes. When we got there, Mark and Debs were nowhere to be seen. I think they were still planning on picking us up the day before. So we decided to creep out of the terminal, wait for them to turn up, and then sneak in behind them for a nice reunion. Yeah, round to the right hand side. Can you see? You're right, Mark, how you doing, mate? Oh, what a nightmare.
Oh, mate, I tell you, you're right.
So eventually, when we got to the Isle of Man and we're sitting in our friend's front room the following day, I phoned the number that we'd been given at the airport, Liverpool Airport. I did manage to get through to a human being. I got through to a human being that had autonomy because they were able to make changes and they were able to make decisions, which was music to my ears, and they changed the return flight. The only bugbear I have is that when we initially booked the flight from Gatwick, we paid, I think it was about £12 each or something like that to pre-book our seats. We had to pre-book our seats and pay again on the new flight, so they should have just transferred that over. All things considered, I was glad that they've finally sorted out our return journey, and obviously that kind of became a little bit insignificant.
Despite the stress and delay in getting over to the Isle of Man, we had a fantastic time over there with some of the best friends we've made. We can thoroughly recommend the Isle of Man. Why not try it out?
I just got an awesome vibe, striking the winner post now. Liberty's on my mind. We've taken off, we've left the ground. You gotta understand that we get one chance, one chance. You will never regret the things that we'll do. 'Cause I wanna drive through the summer night, and when we are old and gray, we'll look back at this summer night. by the lakeside. Gonna do it while we're young.
So once we got back to England, back to our home, we got sent an email from Easyjet telling us how to claim the compensation for all the Ubers that we'd incurred, for the trains, for the food that we paid for at the hotel, all that type of thing. So we put the claim in, and I'll be honest with you, they did pay out. I think it took them 28 days or something like that, and they paid us, which was great. I also did want compensation because, as far as I'm concerned, although the initial incident at Gatwick was outside of their control, the decision to use my plane for something else when the airport was clearly back open again at 6:20 in the evening and running,
and all the to-in and fro-in,
and all the to-in and fro-in, and the stress.
It's eating into a holiday, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Starting off a holiday, all stressed out.
Even to the point where when we got to our friends, when I'm sitting on the phone trying to speak to someone with Autonomy, that's again eating into my holiday. So in that sense, I think we probably deserved something extra. Easyjet, however, obviously saving their P&L, they decided that they weren't happy to give us anything extra. So long and the short of it is, I've used Easyjet before, used them for Edinburgh, for other routes. We've never had a problem before. However, getting to the Isle of Man proved to be an absolute shocker for us.
Yeah, I think it was just bad luck, but just the way they handled it afterwards, trying to speak to a human was just so difficult.
Yeah. So I think, I guess that's the point of where we're getting to with this video. I think Easyjet, when things go right, they are a fantastic airline. They're cheap and they're easy to use. The moment things go wrong,
It's not easy.
their systems that are in place to come up with a resolution and to speak to the person that's peeved is absolutely diabolical. So yeah, use Easyjet for a cheap, easy solution, but just be mindful that if you've got a problem, they ain't going to help easily. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.